So one of the issues that I hear quite a bit from beginning bass players is that they get frustrated. They don't feel like they're improving at all from their practice. And so that frustration leads to them quitting or putting the bass down. Then they try again and they have the same problem. So let's get to the reason as to why your practice is not seeing any improvement and why you're feeling stuck. And then more importantly, let's get into how we're going to fix it. Let's go take a walk. All right, guys, so I thought I'd take a walk since it's a lovely day here in Seattle, which we don't get that many of, especially this time of year. So one of the first things is that people expect linear progress. They think that every day should just be as better than the day before. And that's really not true. And in fact, the more you do this, the more you find that you're gonna hit plateaus. So you might have these huge growth spurts at first and you're thinking, oh, this is fantastic. Look how good I'm getting at this. And then you go through a phase where, months even, you feel like, man, I'm still playing exactly the same way. Well, but this is how it works, is that you will go through these plateaus. People see this in everything, athletics and fitness and weight loss, whatever thing you take on, whatever sort of new venture, you're gonna hit these plateaus. Things are gonna go up and down, up and down. It's way more of a jagged line than a straight line. So it's important to understand that when you get into your bass practice. Okay, number two is that people will compare themselves to other people. And so they'll think to themselves, man, I'm never gonna be as good as that guy, or boy, this person's getting better than me faster, or whatever it is. You can be inspired by other people, just don't compare yourself. They're not you. They're not living the life you're living. They don't have the same strengths, they don't have the same challenges, or whatever it is. There's always gonna be people that are better than you at all kinds of things. So take inspiration from them. Just don't get yourself down because you're not as good as somebody, or you think you should be better than you are at that moment. Which gets me into the third point, which is unrealistic expectation. I don't think people realize how long things actually take. What does it mean to be better at the bass? How far do you want to take this? Like, what do you want to be good at, for one thing? So having, maybe some sort of idea of what you want to do. But if you just want to be able to play some tunes, great. If you want to become a professional, then you're gonna have to put more time in. You're gonna have to learn more things. It's just that simple. Things take longer than people seem to think. So embrace the process. Enjoy where you're at now, because believe me, you are getting better, right? And if not, then maybe if you absolutely cannot play from day to day, you suddenly can't, for years you still can't play a scale, then maybe you do need to move on from that. But I seriously doubt it, that if you're putting any time into something, you're not making some improvement. Which brings me to another point, which is track your progress. Get a recording device. You have one on your phone. You can just videotape yourself. Give it maybe weeks or a month. See how you are at each month. Do the same exercise. Videotape yourself doing it, or record yourself doing it. And then you'll see, like, oh, I actually am able to play this. Or even just keeping notes of what you're working on and going, well, this is really progressing, or this is getting easier for me to do. And enjoy that part of it, because there's always gonna be something that you're not good at, or you're always gonna feel like there's things you need improvement on. That's the great thing about it, is that it never does end. No one's ever done learning, right? So, like I said before, embrace that process, embrace where you're at, enjoy where you're at, right? But also track your progress with simple devices or keeping notes. Now, another thing that people fail to do, I think, or sometimes they do too much of, which I'll talk about as well, is they don't do anything enjoyable for their practice. So they think that practice is just the scales, working on the metronome and just doing sort of the fundamentals, the rudiments, the quote unquote boring stuff, the weightlifting, right? The sit-ups and the push-ups that you need to do to excel in athletics. Playing music is very similar, right? If you want to be good, you really do have to, unless you're a prodigy, and if you are, you're probably not even watching this video, and you're not having problems with your practice routine. But most of us are not prodigies. We have to put the work in. We have to put in, the times, just working on the metronome and getting our timing down, or learning how to read if that's what we want to do, or learning how to, make better bass lines, that sort of stuff. You can't get away from that, but you also need to enjoy what you're doing. So find fun things to do on your bass too. Try to find that good balance where you're really spending time hard focused on certain elements, but then also play along with some bass lines. Like do something that is fun and that is enjoyable as part of your routine. Which brings me up to this last point, and it's no particular order. What a lot of people do in their practice is they don't have a focus part. So they just noodle. I love just noodling. I get way into that myself, where I'm just noodling around or just, you know, I don't necessarily consider it noodling because I'm usually noodling with stuff that I'm working on, but I do have to make that effort to sit with something that's challenging. Like, so for me, like I can read pretty good, I can read charts, but I'm not perfect at it, and I just want to get my notation reading, my sight reading down. So I need to sit down and make sure that I'm spending the time doing that, finding things that are a little bit harder for me to read and putting that effort in. But like I said before, I don't want to just do that because then I might get bored and frustrated, right? So it's that balance. Keep making sure you're focused, right? Decide what you're going to do before your practice and say, okay, today I'm going to spend 10 minutes on my reading skills, or I'm going to spend 10 minutes on pentatonic, or I'm going to spend 10 minutes on, you know, still just being able to play, you know, C major, wherever you're at. But then I'm also going to add some time where I'm enjoying trying to play bass lines or learning new bass lines or whatever it is. So don't get yourself too hung up on one or the other. So anyways, guys, thanks for going on a walk with me, and I hope that these tips help you. It's often the mindset that gets in our way. It's not even really what it is we're doing, what you know, material we're working on, whatever. It's just that we tend to get caught up in some of these little tricks, right, in our brain. And also, if you haven't already, grab that free PDF that I'll include in the description called 10 Pro Tips for Beginning Bass Players. And I just go over these, but it's a nice little reminder, right? We all need these. That's why people hire personal coaches or personal trainers, even then when they know how to work out. It's just easier for someone to just tell you or remind you of these things. So anyways, guys, I hope that helps. Let me know in the comments, you know, if you have other issues or things about the practice process or about the improvement, or if this helped you at all. And also, don't forget to join our free community called the Bass Corner. There's some free lessons, there's ongoing content, and there's also just contribution from fellow community members, and hopefully you're one of them, you know, and just to kind of help people through the process of learning the bass and enjoying the bass. That's the most important part. So, all right, guys, have a great one. We'll see you in the next video.